Hey everyone, this is Dale Berkebile. Today, we are going to be talking about the first chapter of Change Your Thoughts, Change Your Life. And I think, is that reading backwards? I believe it is. Sorry about that. But let me start out by confirming that we have sound, because Sunday. Sorry about that. Okay. But so Sunday, I reviewed the first verse, first chapter, and obviously didn't have the sound on. So we recorded, but we had no sound. So I apologize for that. But hopefully today we will get more information and you will be able to hear it and you'll be able to get something from it. Let me just start out talking a little bit about what my background is, how I got here, why we're even doing this. First off, I know nothing of the Tao Te Ching. That's part of what this book talks about, and that's one of the reasons I wanted to open up this conversation with a group of people to discuss that and dig deeper in what that means and be able to apply it in my own life. I am no religious scholar, no religious master, no Asian historian or Chinese master. I mean, I have an interest. I just have never studied anything, so I'm not an expert, not claiming to be. All I want to do is help understand the Tao, I guess it could be said either way, maybe. I'm not sure which way is correct, the Tao Te Ching or the Tao Te Ching. Again, I'm new to it. But get a better understanding of the Tao Te Ching for myself personally, so I can apply it to my life. And I also, as I was just introduced to it, realized that it met a lot of it aligned very well with who I am as a person and what I do as an individual. And honestly, I see that as I am going down the path that I'm going, I have been applying some of these strategies anyhow. So I thought that, hey, what the heck? Why not open this up to a group and have a conversation and see if they can't apply it to their life as well. And one of the ways that I came into this was I was a Bernie Sanders follower. And, you know, one of the things that I loved about him was the fact that he was all about what was the agenda to fix things as opposed to slinging mud. So it didn't matter if an interviewer tried to guide him down a path of ugliness and mudslinging and the whole 9 yards. He refocused or repurposed the question into talking about his agenda, what the problems were and how he was going to fix them. I thought there was a lot of integrity there, so that was very attractive to me. And so, you know, obviously he lost. And that made me sad, of course. He was my guy, the first politician that I saw that actually had some integrity, that seemed to be honest, that actually wanted to fix things for everyone, not just for his people or my people. And so I had a lot of respect for him. Anyhow, he lost. Okay, so that happened. But on his way out, his parting speech was, if you are not happy, get involved locally and make change. And I thought about that. It kind of weighed on me for a while. You know, I'm like, wow, what a classy way to go out. You know, your losing speech is an inspirational speech talking about how the momentum of the movement that we've created is going to continue to go forward, and you can be the fuel to keep that going. And so I thought to myself, like, I'm not a politician. I don't really want to be a politician. Do I look like a politician? Do I look like someone that maybe wants to play by the rules? I can tell you that I don't really. And so anyhow, I pondered how to get involved locally, how to make change. And what I found was that in the meantime, while I'm figuring this out, while I'm finding my spot, what I could do is get active on Facebook, because what I saw was a lot of hate, a lot of name calling, a lot of blame, finger pointing, the whole 9 yards. And so what I did was, and I didn't really think about it too much, I just jumped in and started talking about politics. And I was talking with the other side, you know, people that have completely different worldviews. I'm over here, they're over here, and there's rarely any coming together and agreement. Anyhow, what ended up happening was I joined these conversations. Sometimes they were heated, and what I was able to do was say, hey, let's just have a conversation out of respect. Let's not point fingers. Let's not blame anyone. Let's not call names. Let's not get ugly. Let's keep it respectful. Let's have a conversation with kindness and peace and love and, you know, all this and that. What I realized after a couple weeks, maybe a month or so, was this was kind of a social experiment for me to see what would happen if I was being positive, if I was being respectful, if I was being kind to people, even on the other side of the fence. And especially in the heated debate when Trump won, things got ugly online and in person. I mostly dealt with it online. But I set myself up as someone that was going to call people on their bullshit. And that means whether you're a Republican or a Democrat or a cop or a Black Lives Matter or a gay or, you know, this, that, and the other thing, I was going to call you on your bullshit, whether you were on my side or someone else's side, because I just wanted respect and kindness. So luckily, I started to get some traction. I was having fun doing it, and I was having people that were starting to follow suit. You know, they were taking the flag and running with it. Actually, from the other side, starting this peaceful movement of, you know, let's come together, let's mend the fence and unify. Now, there are a lot of people out there that thought it was all bullshit and wanted no part of it and think that, hey, our side has the flag now, we get to do whatever we want. And I'm like, okay, well, you can lead a horse to water, but you can't make them drink. So I just try and be the best person that I can be and show them respect. But after doing this for several months and seeing some change happen, I got pretty excited. And so what I did was I figured, you know what, this is my local. You know, Facebook was my local because we do online marketing, and I've been doing social media for 6-8 years, maybe longer. And so I have a pretty good grasp on this, and I know how to build fans and following and cater messages that appeal to people. And so I said, you know what, maybe my local that Bernie was talking about, I was thinking getting involved with local politics. That's one way to go. But my local was really social media. And so I said, you know what, I'm going to jump on this and see what we can do. And I knew I couldn't do it alone. And so what I did was I started a group that was called Be the Change. So if you go to Facebook and you do a search for a group called Be the Change, you'll probably find our group. And it has an image of Martin Luther King Jr. on the icon, so you may see that. But at the end of the day, I was inspired by Gandhi saying, be the change that you want to see in the world. And so I took Bernie Sanders' concept and I took Gandhi's philosophy, and I kind of melded these two things together, and I wanted to figure out how I could be the change that I wanted to see in the world. And so started this group. I started getting people active, and we started sharing positivity around and pushing it out on the interwebs, so to speak, on Facebook. And after doing that for a month or two, I was looking for a new book to read, and somehow this one, Wayne Dyer's Change Your Thoughts, Change Your Life. This was actually something that was in my wish list that was probably on there for 6 months, a year, or longer. But I was looking at it, and I was thinking about what I was doing, and I was listening to the quick audio version because I got the audio book. And I said, you know what, now is the time, and I started reading this. And what I found was some of the journey that I was already on was very similar and in alignment with the Tao. I wasn't familiar with the Tao at all, but it made sense. It clicked with me. And so that being said, one of the things that I wanted to do is create a group where we can discuss the Tao Te Ching, and we can figure out how to better apply the philosophies, the methodology behind the Tao, and actually live it, right? And so through the example that I did, the social experiment that I did of being nice, of bringing kindness and respect to the conversation, it started to change people. And my thoughts were, if I can internalize this concept, the Tao Te Ching, if I can internalize that, it's going to change me as a person, but more importantly, I think that it could change others. And so in the past, what we would do, or what I would do, was rely on whoever the president was to try and make change. So I voted for Obama, both elections that he won. And the reason for that is because the first one was all about hope. And the second one was all about change, or the first one was about change. I forget the order. One of them was about change and one of them was about hope. At the end of the day, do I feel like Obama delivered on his promise? I don't know. I mean, he did some great stuff, and I'm really proud of the fact that we had an African-American, a Black president. That's kind of awesome. But I feel like it unleashed all this hate and people fighting against it because they didn't want to see Blacks succeed. They didn't want to see gays being married. They didn't want to see transgendered bathrooms and the whole 9 yards. So it opened up a Pandora's box of sorts, right? And so what I realized, to some degree, I can't expect that the president is going to be able to save us, right? I want him to save us. Well, at the end of the day, I think we need to save ourselves. And that's what came into play when I started reading the Tao Te Ching. That being said, let's see here. So the first chapter is really interesting. This is the first verse. And what I'm going to do here is I'm going to show a slide that has the first verse so you can see it. So this is the first verse in the first chapter of this book. The Tao that can be told is not the eternal Tao. The name that can be named is not the eternal name. The Tao is both named and nameless. As nameless, it is the origin of all things. As named, it is the mother of 10,000 things. Ever desireless, one can see the mystery. Ever desiring, one can only one sees only the manifestations. So we missed the word there. It's supposed to be one sees only the manifestations. And the mystery itself is the doorway to understanding. Okay, so here's the thing. This first verse is really kind of deep, and I am no guru, right? I'm no expert on this stuff. And it's hard to start out with that verse because it's very deep, and we have to really take it in. And everyone's journey is going to be completely different, and everyone is going to get a different idea of what this means. But the mystery itself is the doorway to all understanding. You know, so that makes me think about how can we understand the mystery? Now, the interesting thing is, you know, this is like this yin and yang opposites sort of thing, you know, male versus female, yin versus yang, you know, and it's pretty deep, and it's difficult to fully grasp what that first verse means. But what I think we will do is I think everyone's going to have their own philosophy on what it means. But I think we should take it with a grain of salt at this point. I think we should take it in and come back. And as we get through the rest of the chapters, the rest of the verses, come back and reevaluate it. And that brings up another thing. I kind of believe the Tao Te Ching is not something that you read this book once and then you're done and, hey, we got it, we're awesome. I believe that it's a lifelong journey that is self-awareness and reflecting and evolving over time as we get a better or deeper understanding for each one of the chapters, each one of the verses. So don't expect to have all the answers at this point. I believe there's some things that we can pull out, but at this point, let's keep an open mind and see where things go. Now, in the book, it talks about first and foremost, enjoy the mystery. So when I look at things in my life, I think some of what we run across is we're so excited to get to the goal, where we're going, the destination, that we miss the joy that can happen with the journey. And so I think that with this, I'm hoping that we can find joy in the journey also, because I think that's where it's really going to connect. So in this paragraph, let the world unfold without always attempting to figure it all out. Now, I tend to be someone who overthinks and overanalyzes everything. You can ask my wife, Betsy, she will, she'll tell you, just like, stop thinking about it. It's out of your control. You can't think about it. I guess it's a control thing. We want to control things, and I want to understand where people are coming from so I can respond to them the way that will get the best response from them or the best results from them. And maybe that's a control issue that I have. I want to control other people. I don't know. But at the end of the day, I'm hoping that the Tao is going to help me lighten up and just take it as it comes and not look for the result per se, but doing what we do every day and enjoying that. And it goes on in this chapter, don't try so hard to make something work, simply allow. I tend to make things work. I tend to work a lot to try and make things work. So I have a lot of work to do on myself to just let things go and really take it in. Don't always toil at trying to understand your mate, your children, your parents, your boss, or anyone else, because the Tao is working at all times. So again, to me, that means, if we just let things go, everything will work out, right? So an example of that is we get very hung up about money or not having enough money or, paying our bills or living paycheck to paycheck or whatever. At the end of the day, the world often provides for us. Have you ever had a day where you're like, man, I don't know how I'm going to pay my rent. I don't know how I'm going to pay my car payment or whatever. And somehow the money just happens. It just comes into your life. That's called faith. From a religious standpoint, that's the faith that I think religions rely on. That, okay, you have never met God, but you have to have faith that there is a God. And so the more we can just be and let things happen, the better off we are. And at the end of the day, stressing about things that are out of our control are kind of silly. It's kind of a waste of time, right? We can't do anything about it. So we might as well just think about good things that we can do things about. So I'm open to interpretation and happy to have you share your thoughts. But that's kind of my initial take today. And the next reading, it may be completely different. Become an astute observer. So sometimes we need to just sit back and take it all in. We need to judge less and listen more. So these are some of the things that they talk about in the book. And I think that is very hard for us. But as we move forward, it will be something that you should look at and reflect on. Are you able to sit back and just watch things play out instead of being an active participant or trying to control and make things happen, be the puppet master, pulling the strings, controlling things. So do the Tao now is this chapter ends with. And the first paragraph says, at some point today, notice an instance of annoyance or irritation you have with another person or situation. Decide to do the Tao or practice the way. In that moment, by turning inward with curiosity about where you are in the continuum between desire and allowing. Permit the paradox of wanting the irritant to vanish and allow it to be what it is. Look inward for it in your thoughts and allow yourself to feel it wherever it is and however it moves in your body. Turn all of your attention to becoming open-minded, allowing permissiveness to befriend the mystery within yourself. So that's the last piece I'm going to talk about from the book, but I think that's a good challenge. When you have something that you get upset with today or frustrated with today, how can you take a step back, breathe deeply, in through the nose, out through the mouth. How can you slow down a second and change your thoughts? Reflect on it. Why am I feeling so upset over this issue? Can I change my thoughts and in turn change how I feel about things? And if I change how I feel about things, that changes my outlook. Does that start to change my world? I don't know. It's something to think about. Anyhow, I appreciate you very much for taking the time to watch this, to join us. Again, this is Dale Berkebile. And I am no one special, just an everyday Joe trying to dig deeper and learn more about myself, learn more about humanity, and how to be a better human being. If you would like to get connected or get involved, you can go to Facebook and join the Be the Change group. And I look forward to meeting you and having a conversation. So thank you very much and have a great day. We'll see you next week as we talk about verse 2.